Mr. Lee.
Sure. Two questions on South Sudan. One is there are these reports of publications being shut down by the government. One is The Citizen, the other one is Free Voice South Sudan. Basically, the government going in and saying stop publishing. So I'm wondering, has UNMISS or the Secretariat or DPKO said anything about that? And I also wanted to ask you again about this Yambio camp, because I've heard now more specifically that people that were staying in something called the Sunset Hotel there were allowed to, according to what I've heard, to seek protection within the Yambio Protection of Civilians base, whereas residents of the town weren't. I don't know. I'm asking you: is there sort of a double standard? What test was applied in that case?
My colleagues who are listening to me are probably going to bring me the guidance I had on South Sudan, which I don't have with me. So I'll get back at you in about a few minutes, as soon as they come into this room. Masood.
Yes, sir. I was just saying you may disagree with what I'm saying, but there's a pattern that is coming on, that whenever Pakistan or India make complaint, there's nothing that comes out of UNMOGIP. They never make a statement. Is there particular reason for that to
I
happen?
think UNMOGIP implements its mandate as it was given to it. So if I have any other information on MOGIP, I will share it with you. Matthew. It's all right. I know.
So
Let's see if they're paying
let's see.
attention. Let's see if those people are paying attention in my
all
office.
right. So
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
go with this one.
Yeah.
Earlier in the week, your deputy Farhan Haq said, I asked him if the panel on the Central African Republic sexual abuse allegations would travel to CAR, and he said there's no way we would know. We'll just get the budget at the end. And then yesterday, Babacar Gaye said that they have already traveled there. So I wanted to know, like, if the idea of you guys not knowing was somehow that they're so independent that you wouldn't know. Does DPKO know and you don't know, or?
No, I think the point is I'm not keeping track of them because they're independent. So they go wherever they need to go. They do whatever they need. There's the man in question.
All right. I have more.
Yeah. They do what they need to do. Obviously, their travel has to be arranged through logistical arrangements that they rely on us for. I mean, they're not traveling on their own. There are logistical and security concerns, so I'm sure people know where they're going. But it is not. I've made it not my job to keep up with them and to give you a play-by-play of who they're talking to or where they're going.
But
we'll see what they come up with at the end, and as we said, we would share their report.
Right. Do you have any update on the actual French prosecution of the individuals?
I do not.
Right.
I do not. My understanding is that investigation is continuing,
So South
is
Sudan?
ongoing. South Sudan.
All right.
Good you asked, and good that they paid attention. UNMISS tells us that after assessing the security situation and engaging with state authorities, no civilians were admitted to the protection into its base in Yambio. UNMISS's open gate policy is implemented as a last resort when the mission believes that civilians are under imminent threat. The mission has increased patrols in Yambio town and its surroundings in an attempt to restore a sense of safety and security and provide a reassuring presence. And my understanding is that no one from the hotels were let in. And I do know that, and you mentioned national staff. National staff have IDs. If they need to stay in the camp and sleep in their offices, that's fine.
Right, but
They
wouldn't you
have-
say
they
it's
have
kind of
access-
inconsistent if the
No,
UN
I think
staff
it's not.
stay in?
It's not. I think, UNMISS has done a tremendous job, and that's probably not even a good enough word, in opening its camps to more than 100,000 people. As we all know, these peacekeeping camps were not designed to house these number of people. The idea to open up the gates was really as a last resort if people are under imminent threat. It's a hard call that the mission obviously has to do. They made the call in this particular instance. Obviously, if national staff feel, I'm not aware that national staff were told they had to stay in the camp. If national staff feel they would rather stay in their offices, no one would kick them out, as if no one will kick me out of my office if I don't want to go home.
Because just before we get off this, because I'd rather not go back to it, but I understand that they've put up many people, but what some people see this incident as showing is either a shift in policy by the UN or an over-deference to the government, because
No,
what's
I think
alleged
I
in
would-
that town,
I would-
the government is already investigating its own killing
Okay,
of civilians
I
there.
would-
So
I don't think there's been a change in policy, as we've reported in the last month or so here, there's often an increase, an uptick in the number of civilians that are allowed in, thank you, that are allowed into camps. So I don't think there's no change in the policy. The open gate policy is a last resort. Decision was made in this particular case, but there's been absolutely no change in policy. On the press issue, I think, as I said, our colleagues at UNMISS are indeed very much concerned over the recent closure of media houses and outlets in South Sudan, and they reiterate that a free, diverse, and independent media is one of the cornerstones of a democratic society. Halas. Thank you.